right spot. As I've said to people before, I'm not a professional YouTuber, I'm a professional painter. So, if you're looking for a professional YouTuber out of some of these things, you're in the wrong place. All right, let's see. That should get us enough to be able to look at what we're doing. Okay. I'll give everybody a little bit of a minute to come on board, and we'll just talk about what I'm doing here while I'm waiting. So, brand new concept for my card game, I Magi Kingdom of Thor, or I Magi Kingdom of Thor card game. And these orcs, I really love them. I want to try and get some of these more detailed orcs going on here. I think what we'll do is, I know that these highlights are going to be kind of fun to deal with. So let's talk about my method, how I get started on these things. So the first thing that I do is I get myself a sketch put out on butcher paper. Once I've got my sketch done, then I transfer it onto my canvas. And the first thing I'll do is I'll go in and I'll put all of my lowlights or my shadows in. Get an outline of everything. And then I'll go in with my highlights. I'll get some highlights going on. So now that I've got all of that in, I can start adding color. I can start making it look kind of fun. So let's get started on that, shall we? Now, the color of green that I'm going to use for this is a mixture of Hooker's green, medium green, and then I've got some orange, some burnt sienna, and I have a little bit of burnt umber in there. It's going to make really kind of a fun, subdued green color. And as I come over top of it, the areas where I've got the highlights, I'm going to leave that mostly. What I'm trying to do here is just get all of my midtones through it. So that's what we're going to do with this, is we're just going to get some midtones going on. Anybody who tunes in, which nobody has yet, but I'm sure people will watch it after the fact, anybody that tunes in is going to be able to get a little bit of how it starts to come to life. All right. Now, with your green that you want to get it so that it is opaque. And the reason I want it opaque is I'm not intending upon going over my highlights yet with anything that is opaque. I just want to be able to get some of these lines that are black kind of busted out of it so that they're not in the way anymore. As we go along, it'll really start to, well, let's just give you an example. All right, I've got a hard line right here on the green. I want to come in with my midtone here, or sorry, hard line on the black. I want to come in with my midtone and just kind of cover it up. And if any of you guys have never seen any of my videos or any of my live paintings, then you don't know what this goes to. This goes to I Magi Kingdom of Thor card game. Every one of my paintings ends up being on a card in the card game. And hey, Felipe, and hi, Emmanuel. Cool. Got a couple of people that are chiming in. One of the things I like is when I'm painting these, since this goes on a card in a card game, you guys can help me out with that. If there's anything that you think would add to the story, something that'd be kind of fun, shout it out in the comments, because I can always go in when I make the card and play around with that. In fact, I'm going to my local card shop right after I do this, and we're going to be making 40 brand new cards for the card game. No, actually, probably closer to 50. And the reason is, I have been painting like crazy since October 8th. And since October 8th, I have 52 paintings done. Normally, I like to try and get 100 paintings a year, but I went through a pretty nasty divorce earlier this year. That divorce didn't help. It really slowed everything down. Kind of the way and the nature of what they do, right? But, and again, let's just get some of these midtones in. Let's come into the pectorials, give a little bit of definition here. I love it when people say, hey, you gave him a great big nipple. Well, he's an orc. Don't you think he'd have a big nipple? If not, tell me in the comments what you think he has. Maybe he's Little Nipple Man. We don't know. Anybody who's actually seen an orc, why don't you chime in and let me know? I do demand proof, by the way. So, and while we're doing this, I will bring it up over and over again. I'll talk about the card game, I Magi, Kingdom of Thor card game. It's a card game that I created. It goes with the novel. My novel is just barely coming out this year. And the novel's going to be called I Magi. That comes out, or sorry, not this year, February, next year. Hang on one second. Just want to get that feather over here into my low light, my shadows. And the novel and the card game, they have a lot to go together with each other. You can see a lot about my card game on other posts that I've done, other videos. But the card game, if you want to take a look at the website, it's IMAGI, imagicardgame.com. IMAGI. And you can start to see that the color really starts to make it come together again. Let's see. Hey, thanks very much for the cool art. Appreciate that. Let's give a shout out to Arenza. Oh, I don't know. That's pretty cool. Arenza. Is that how I say the name, or did I say it wrong? Let me know. Okay. Oh, I actually wanted to make this part of the loincloth, so we'll have to go in and fix that. That's the great thing about paint. I can just go right back over top of it, right? And skip all of that. That's part of the loincloth. Let's just come down to the big brawny mitts. Well, you'd hate to get hit by this thing, wouldn't you? Knock you right on your butt. I don't know how much I can actually swear while I'm on YouTube. Normally, if I'm in my studio and someone's talking to me, you know, we get pretty graphic about what happens when we're doing any of these paintings. But there we go. So, as I said before, the way that I like to get my process started is I'll do a great big sketch on a piece of butcher paper, and then I'll transfer it onto my canvas. And once I've got it on my canvas, what we start doing is we put the low lights in first, all these shadows, and the basic outline, and then I come in with a highlight. Now, I want to get a little bit darker on my paint, so I'm just going to take some burnt umber and a little bit of burnt sienna, and then a tiny bit of Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is a great mixing medium. It's going to give me this next painting. Is that oil? No, it's acrylic. It's not oil, it's acrylic paint. Okay, there we go. Do you see we're starting to get this intermediate color here? I'm going to pull that really close to a lot of my low lights, especially down here. The light, if my light's coming straight down, the light's not going to get much of this down here. So we want to really kind of bring that in. Light's not going to get there much. You're just going to have a little bit refracted light right through here. Kind of pull that. And you start getting a little bit more definition with this darker green color. Pull a little through here. All right, now a little on his jawline. When I come back through with my highlights, anything that looks like it's starting to get kind of fuzzy or it's going to get lost, my highlights will come in and pull it all out. And the highlights happen at a different time. Once you've got just about everything done, that's when you're going to come in with your highlights. Your mid-tone is really just there to give you a transition between your darker and your lighter areas. And again, my mid-tone, I'm using the same green that I've got here, and I'm mixing some burnt umber with it, and then I'm throwing in some Payne's Gray. And again, Payne's Gray, one of my favorite mixing mediums of all time. I just love the way it works. This isn't going to have hardly any light on it right through here, nor is this area. You got to try and give an idea of how your light's going to come and hit all the way down. There's not going to be any there. There's going to be very little there. It's come down to the toes. It'll have some, but right here is going to be more in shadow because my shadow is going to cut across here as well. So that's not going to have any. Now, that's just to get us an idea of where we're going with just the orc. But let me grab Let's see, we got some red ochre. I'll just kind of put our red ochre there. I just picked that up, and then some burnt sienna. I'm gonna put that on my palette, and we're gonna start working on the leather. Okay. Hey, and by all means, if you guys are not following my channel, please like and subscribe so that I know you're out there. Put as many comments out there as you'd like. Watch any of the things that I've got as other videos. I like to know what it is you guys want to see painted. Now, let's go. Let's start working on some leather, shall we? So we've got red ochre, burnt sienna, and then a little bit of raw umber. And that's going to give me some leather. This is a little bit opaque for what I want it to do, so I'm just going to touch it in. Remember this, I wanted to be more loincloth here, so we're going to come in and kind of pull it through. This is really good for down through here. Have that loincloth hanging down. Maybe get a little bit of brighter color through here. Still a little too dark. I'm gonna have to clean the brush in order to get any of these highlight areas. All right, how long does a painting like this take you? A painting like this would generally take, if I started from the sketch itself takes me about an hour and a half to do, sometimes 2 hours. The painting from start to finish could take me only 3 hours. So sometimes it goes really quick. Sometimes it gets to a point where you make mistakes and you have to start over, and then it gets a little bit slower and slower and slower. It's a gigantic pain in the butt, really. But one of the things that's a secret of mine is I'll use makeup brushes. These are a selection of makeup brushes that I'll use. They're gonna help me do something that's all kinds of fun. We're gonna load up that burnt sienna. I'm gonna come up here on my palette and kind of diffuse it out. And then watch this. Boom, instant leather. And my highlights can come in and fix it as I go along. But those makeup brushes really give you the opportunity to pull and mix right on the canvas. Anything that I get over here, I can always hit with the black again and just kind of clean it up. If it's a little too bright, I'm just going to take some medium yellow. If it's a little too dark, I'm just going to take some medium yellow. I'm going to thin it out a bit. Again, I'll take it, go up onto the back side of my canvas here, and just start putting it in. There we go. Yeah, the leather's really starting to come forward now. And anything that needs definition, I'm going to use highlights and lowlights in order to bring it forward. Man, these makeup brushes make my life so much easier. So just that right there gives us an opportunity to see something coming forward. Why don't we grab some more shadow, and we'll just pick out some of our details again through there. Just pull them through as we want to, maybe make our shadow a little heavier now that we've got an idea of what we're doing here. I'm going to go across this fur area. There we go. You can start to see that really kind of pulls through and gives me the lines that I need. And then our loincloth is popping out again. And sometimes that's all it takes. I think I'll take that, since I've got it over here for some definition on the foot covering. I think I'll end up doing the same thing here. I'll turn that into a foot covering. It's mostly in shadow, so I'm just going to turn it black for right now. I'll come back through a little later and put just a little bit of highlight in it. Okay, and then let's pop across here. Oh yeah, that's working out nicely. Maybe a little shadow down here. Yeah, this is going to be mostly in shadow there. Any questions as I go along? Let me know. Okay, guys? Let's see. Oop, got a little bit of the green in that. Let's go back in. The farther out you hold your brush, the less control you have. But what I like doing is letting the brush do some of the work for me. So if I hold it clear out here away from the canvas, it's going to come in and it might make some extra detail that I'm just going to kind of go with. And I like those happy little accidents that happen. It's kind of like a Bob Ross, and if any of you that are watching don't know who Bob Ross is, well, I feel sorry for you. One of the greatest painters of all time, all kinds of fun to watch and listen to. Bob Ross. Every single one of us that's ever been a professional artist for a while, we all love. Hey, there he is, Blaine Thompson, my buddy. Nice to see you, Blaine. That is way too much paint there. Let's come back through here, pick out the pectoral, give it some details, give us some more shadow right through here. There it is. Yeah, but as I was saying, every professional artist loves Bob Ross. Well, you know what? I never did finish up the green right through here. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, I had someone ask me as I was drawing this in my studio, they said, hey, where did you get the inspiration for some of the muscle tone? Actually, I was taking a look at some of the old comic books for the Incredible Hulk. And if you're going to paint any kind of an orc or a goblin or anything else, any of those old comic books certainly help with muscle tone. Okay. Yeah, this is looking good. We're starting to get some real definition there just off of the black. And that's the way these work. You don't have to put a lot of color and definition in. I kind of let the canvas and the paintbrushes do it for me. And then I'll use a lot of these really nice dark delineated lines to hide any kind of detail so I don't actually have to paint it. In fact, let's just take that. That looks better if it's all shadow right through there. Getting an idea of how the light travels, that's something that takes a long time to figure out. But once you've got it, then it just starts to work. And let's say that this is mostly shadow, which means I can switch over to my makeup brush again. And I can just kind of pick this through. That makeup brush is going to smooth out a lot of things for me. Make it so that I don't have to put a lot of detail in myself. And the paint, as it drags, is going to create detail that you didn't know you could make in the first place. And so you just kind of want to have that happen for you. There we go. Let's just get some of that there and there. The rest of it, I'm just going to fill in myself. I was going to do a full painting on it, but I ended up having someone remind me that I need to run off to the card shop and start working on the game. Got to create those 50. But let's do just a little bit more. We've got a mid-tone, we've got some of those highlights, but those highlights right now are just white. We really don't want to leave them as white. We're going to take some medium yellow, some titanium white, and then the green color that I've already created. And we're just going to mix that together and get a new highlight. And let's just pop it in over top of some of this stuff. Get the ear in here. Get those gigantic, what are they, deltoids? No, these would be the deltoids. What are those sections of shoulder that are way up here on this guy's back, like he's some giant bodybuilder, like he's Lou Ferrigno? Anybody know? Anybody want to comment on what those are? Because, gosh, I don't know. There we go. Highlights really kind of make everything start to come together for you. We're going to have to come back over and put that as a tusk that's super, super white. But we can get that later. Here's the funny thing is once I make that tusk super white, I'm then going to end up going over it later with kind of a yellow so that it looks aged. but it's got to be a different color of yellow than what I'm using right now for the highlights. Hey, Horizon Black, thank you. I appreciate it. Glad it's fun for you. All right. And while I'm going along, by all means, any questions? Because I got only about 5-6 more minutes before I got to cut this short and then run off to start making cards for the card game. But if there's any questions you guys have, let me know. And if any of you are wondering why my face is not on this, hey, I've got the perfect voice for radio and the perfect face to match. Why would I want to put that on a screen? I have no idea. Of course, my girlfriend would probably argue with that, but that's because she's probably a saint. All right, and we're starting to get some definition here. We're starting to get the face popping out the way it needs to be. Let's come over here. We've got to put our mid-tone on that hand before we start doing the highlights, don't we? So let's do that. Now we can get some highlights on there. All right, let's see here. There we go. Now remember, if your light's traveling straight down, this is one of the hardest ones for you to be able to do. It's a whole lot easier if you choose your light to come straight from one side or the other. So that's just an artist trick there, but if it's coming straight down, you have to decide how it's going to hit and whether or not it's going to hit one side of the body more than the other. In this case, I chose this side of the body for the light to travel on. So down and this way. And that has to do with where I decide the reflected light is coming from. Boy, that is one giant mitt right there. You wouldn't want to be hit by this hand. Okay, this is mostly going to be in shadow, but I'll give it a little bit. And this, however, has got to be picked out. And maybe a little across the abs there, more there, bring a little bit across the pec. Maybe he's got a little bit of light that hits here and along his obliques. Hey, why don't we just pick out that tusk while we're at it so that it doesn't look all fuzzy there? Because it does look just kind of wrong right now. There, we've got some white, vibrant white that we just picked up. Get it kind of at a point. There we go. Tusk's coming out. Now over here, the tusks aren't going to be as wide. If you want to know why, you've just got a perspective change as you roll across. So in reality, those tusks would probably be just as big, but they're just not going to be there. Oh, let's see. Everybody kind of just fell off, didn't they? Well, good time to end the video then. Hey, thanks for tuning in. You guys have fun.